What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Nip. Welcome to my channel. Nobody cares. Today, we'll be talking about 3I Atlas. This is a comet that could potentially be intelligent, and let's check it out, man. We are watching an interview from physicist Avi Loeb, and we just want to get the wheel spinning. So, without further ado, let's check it out.
The discovery of an object from outside our solar system is sparking debate in the scientific community. The object is called 3I Atlas, and NASA says that it's a comet that was first discovered in July. It's currently passing through our solar system, reaching a point about 130 million miles from the sun, and it's just the third interstellar object ever discovered in our solar system. There's lots of questions being asked about where it actually comes from, and some are questioning what it even is.
Now, NASA insists everything they've studied about it so far leads them to believe that it's just a normal comet. But physicist Avi Loeb isn't totally convinced.
Honestly, I feel the same way he does because NASA, they don't usually give out too much information when it comes to certain things. Sometimes, well, a lot of the times, you can't believe what they say when it comes to the things that they have going on because we've seen things with our own eyes that they literally deny. It's like, okay, you guys seen that, but it wasn't that. I remember one time they were talking about there was videos of something in space being taken by I believe it's the ISS, and they were saying there was space pigeons. The hell? I ain't know pigeons could be in space, but maybe I might misinterpret that wrong, but it just don't sound right to me.
Yes, there's a chance, even if it's just a small one, that the comet is artificially made, meaning it's alien technology. In a series of essays, Loeb has cited anomalies with the comet that he says support the argument of the 3I Atlas being sent to our solar system intentionally, and that, of course, raises questions about who sent it, what their intentions are. Loeb says that even if it's most likely a comet, his alternative hypothesis is worth looking into because of the massive implications it would have for humanity if it turned out to be true.
Loeb is also a Harvard professor and founder of the Galileo Project, which was created to search for evidence of extraterrestrial life. He joins us now here on Rising to talk about his ideas. Welcome back to the program.
Avi.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Let's begin by maybe you could describe the characteristics of this object. Are we talking about a very large object, a very small object, what its physical components are? Do we know anything about that? Fill us in.
As soon as it was discovered, it was obvious that this object is quite large. And that was July 1st, 2025. And my wife wanted us to go on vacation, but I realized that I have to write a paper, so I didn't really enjoy the beach much. I estimated the size has to be of order Manhattan Island if the brightness stems from the reflection of the object.
Look, let's take that into consideration. We got a comet coming through our solar system that's the size of the city of Manhattan. Manhattan any day can hold millions of people. Could you imagine the size of that hurling through the solar system?
Turns out that there is a lower limit on its size, which is about 5 kilometers, and the mass is at least 30 billion tons, based on the fact that it maintains course so far, despite the fact that it's losing 150 kilograms per second. This is a big object. It's a million times more massive than the first interstellar object discovered 8 years ago. And the question is, why haven't we found millions of smaller objects before we find this giant one? And then on top of that, it looks as if it came along the plane of the planets around the sun. The chance of that happening at random is 1 in 500. And the question arises as to whether this trajectory was planned as part of a reconnaissance mission, because it's coming very close to Mars, Venus, and Jupiter, unusually close. For that, you need to arrange a special timing so that it will be at the right time at the right place. And it came closest to the sun yesterday. Unfortunately, we can't look at it from Earth.
Now, look, expounding on that, right? What they said before was that it's potentially that this came from the same area that the wild signal came from. I guess like within a 9 degrees of the same signal. Um, Now, me just this is my little weird theory, right? As humans, uh, we develop naturally, through biology. We evolve when it comes to certain things. With me saying that, there was a guy that was blind, but he was actually physically able to move around. He was riding a bike, and the way that he was able to see was how dolphins they use sounds. So as he's riding the bike, he's clicking and popping in order to see, I guess, echolocation to see where or if there's anything in front or on the side of him. Now, this guy has no actual physical sight, but he's using sound to see. Now, if this is intelligent, I'm thinking that it's a possibility because the wild signal happened in the 70s. I'm thinking it's a possibility that they used radio waves to let's say map our solar system so they could have the proper trajectory of time by the time that they get here. Now, with that being said, they will have to use faster than light travel, which you would think an advanced species traveling through our solar system would do, or would be able to have the technology to do that. And also the fact that they have some type of I guess it's a tail, but it's backwards. From the beginning, it was like the tail was facing the opposite way. So that's my thought process about that. Like maybe it's a possibility that they are using those radio signals as a way to create pictures or you know or use mathematics to figure out what's going to be where by the time they get to where they are so they can know the proper trajectory to take in order to come through the solar system and literally wrap around the sun without taking any damage. That would be the smart thing to do. You would think an intelligent species would do something like that, but let's get back into it.
Because the Earth is on the opposite side of the sun. That could have also been a hint of a technological design. We found
Okay?
in the gas around it, we found nickel without iron, very little iron, mostly nickel, and the only
And with him saying that too, you always find nickel and iron. It's like they are always basically together. When you find nickel, you find a lot of iron. You find a lot of iron, you find a lot of nickel. Like so, that's kind of a little off as well too.
place where we have such a composition is nickel alloys that are produced industrially for aerospace applications.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a jet coming from this object, a glow that extended towards the sun during July and August. We don't see that around comets. This is an anti-tail. Usually we see dust
Yes.
and gas which are pushed away from the sun as a result of the solar radiation pressure or the solar wind. Now,
Now look.
yesterday,
Now look. What an anti-tail basically is saying is it's usually away from the sun, but this one was towards the sun, but going the way that it's going. With an anti-tail, let's think about it as like a cone or a funnel, and it could be a burst of energy pushing out maybe for the small debris that's left in space that they don't want to maybe compromise, the interstellar object. So let's you travel through, break it off, create space for yourself. That would be the only reason to have an anti-tail. Remember, none of this stuff has happened before.
the first report about what it's doing closest to the sun came out. These are instruments that are capable of looking very close to the sun. And it was realized that, in fact, the object is brightening. It becomes very bright right now as it comes close to the sun, and it's turning blue. And the color blue is very surprising because if there is any dust shed off a natural nucleus of a comet, the dust would make it red. And usually the surface of the object is at least an order of magnitude cooler than the surface of the sun. But what the new data indicates is that the object is bluer than the sun. How is that possible? For that, you need to arrange a temperature somewhere on the object which is higher than the temperature of the sun in order for it to be bluer than the sun.
And yep. Remember, think about even with fire. Red fire is hot, but when you see blue fire, you know it's hotter. Nobody cares though.
And the sun has a surface temperature of 5,800 degrees Kelvin above absolute zero. That's huge. You know, that's 20 times the temperature on Earth right now. So the question is, what is going on? And I'm saying it could be a black swan event where we expect it most likely to be a natural object, but we have to attend to the possibility that it might not
be something
natural,
intelligent.
just because the implications would be huge for humanity.
Now, Avi,
see, and this is also another thing too. I mean, I don't know how many people are familiar with the Drake equation. If not, just kind of look it up. It's not hard to explain, but you know, for those people who are into that stuff, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. How are we the only intelligent species? And we've had several extinction level events that happened to planet Earth. I believe it's 5. I believe once upon a time ago, there was a much more intelligent species of human beings that were here and possibly decided that they didn't want to be here anymore. Maybe they might have went into space. Maybe they might have. Maybe they wanted to be a multi-planet species. But I feel like with all the obsolete technology that we're finding at work when it comes down to building the pyramids and other stuff like that, even with the hieroglyphics, how they show men with helmets and spaceships, it being etched into pyramids. Like something was here that was intelligent, that might have been human, possibly, before us.
Not gonna lie, I was a little bit freaked out when I first read this news. I'm like, 3AI, what's a 3I Atlas? But now that I want to understand, people could see you and know that you are a smart man. We're not talking about somebody on X who just pointed out some random conspiracy theory. You're teaching at Harvard. Explain why you're not getting the response that you're looking for from professionals and other leaders like NASA team to really look into this. What's the issue?
Yeah, I'm disappointed in NASA. You got people who specialize in this type of stuff, reaching out to have a conversation with you guys about what's going on with a possible life-changing comet that comes into our solar system. And you use the government shutdown as an excuse not to reach out to these people. And then all of a sudden, Kim Kardashian tweets you and you guys respond immediately. A social media influencer who's now a lawyer, who I think I just read today, she said she openly used Chat GPT to help her prepare for the bar exam to become a lawyer, which is, I don't know if it's smart or dumb at the same time. I think it's actually phenomenal if she used it and it worked and she became a lawyer. But that's very weird to me that you guys have the ability to respond to somebody like her about something like this in the open in front of the world on the internet where it's literally um gonna be seen by almost everybody or could be seen by anybody, and yet you guys can't respond to the leading people who are asking you questions because this is um their brand of study, and you guys don't even respond to them. Like, what are you hiding that you could have a conversation with Kim Kardashian and not Avi Loeb? That's crazy to me.
Too.
Yeah, the issue is that scientists, and that's completely justified, very often are attracted to the most likely explanation. That's what establishes them as experts. Experts are relying on past knowledge. But here we have a blind date with an interstellar visitor, and it's a blind date of a type that we've never had before. So relying on past knowledge is not a good practice. But more importantly, usually, if you look at an exploding star at the edge of the universe, it has no implications for society. So it's better not to take risks and say, oh, that's an exploding star of a type that we understand. However, in a case where you have a visitor to your backyard, the visitor might enter through your front door.
Mm.
That's a situation where there is an important threat to humanity, and therefore, even low probability events have to be taken
Serious,
seriously.
yeah, they
That's
gotta take it
something
serious.
that the scientific community, including NASA, does not necessarily understand. Now, NASA does understand the fact that there could be rocks that come close to Earth, and we know that the dinosaurs were killed 66 million years ago by a giant rock the size of Manhattan Island. We know that, and therefore NASA has a plan to discover near-Earth objects that could pose a threat to us if they are rocks. But NASA did not think as of yet about the
Of
possibility that
intelligent.
an object which has some technology in it might be in the sky, even though NASA itself launched a lot of technological objects into the sky. And I'm just saying NASA is not the most accomplished space agency in the Milky Way galaxy since the Big Bang, 13.8 billion years ago.
But now look, this is where I differ. Like I have a difference of opinion because there's a satellite in our solar system that's been there forever called the Black Knight. And I'm pretty sure that NASA has figured out that there's something else obviously up there that most people don't know or don't talk about, and they have information about and they just won't share with the world. I'm pretty sure.
Recognize that it would be arrogant to claim that NASA is the only agency polluting space with technological objects. So if there was another NASA-like agency around an exoplanet billions of years ago, simply because the parent star formed billions of years before the sun, we know most of the stars formed before the sun. The sun just is a late star that formed just in the last 1/3 of cosmic history. The point is that their gadgets could have arrived at our backyard by now, because even Voyager takes less than 1 billion years to cross the entire Milky Way galaxy. And that's enough time for gadgets from other civilizations
To
to
come
have reached
through.
us.
Yep.
So we should be open-minded when we see new objects that are anomalous. Unfortunately, most scientists do not take risks. I'm saying, well, it's fine not to take risks, except when you deal with an implication to humanity or society. We have to consider these possibilities, and we have to collect as much data as possible. That's my point. If it turns out to be a natural object, which it may very well be, so be it. What could be the worst case scenario? That we know much more about it. But we cannot just dismiss it as a natural object that we don't need to take data about.
Well, you know why scientists won't take risks? Because we are now in an age where people are comfortable with the way that they're living and they don't want to jeopardize or make work harder for them. When I was growing up, we was always taught to use our imagination as children. I think scientists forget that the best part about science is using your imagination, trying to figure out things that don't work. Prime example, um, these guys are uh these guys are judged by their peers. Let's use math as an example, right? If I say 1 + 1 is 2, nobody will look at me crazy. But if I say 1 times 1 is 2, which is happening in the moment right now, but that'll be another video. People will look at me as if I'm crazy. Um, Reason being is it does not fit the criteria of what we already know. Now, instead of taking a chance to have conversations or discussions about why that person believes that 1 times 1 is 2, instead, they will ridicule the person and say, no, you don't know what you're talking about because you don't even know the proper math. But this is the thing with that. Certain things are compromisable and certain things aren't. But are we talking about something that's complete? Or maybe somebody figured out a new way to do something. Like like these guys are not ever usually open to that. And this is probably one of the reasons why we have not developed technologically in the open, because I know behind closed door there's many more technologies and we develop much more. But in the open, as we should, we go from horse and carriage to the rocket in less than, I guess, 100 years, and then there's no real uh, uh, technology boost after that. Why is that? Because all the people who had the thought process to let's say go against the grain, these guys are dead and gone. And they never taught these guys that, listen, you have to try to defy the odds by being better. The only person that's doing that right now at this particular time is Elon Musk. And it's a shame that he's the only mind that's thinking about doing stuff like that. But nobody cares, man. Nobody cares.
Dr. Loeb, thank you so much for joining us to elucidate that. Very fascinating.
Thanks for having me.
Next up, podcaster and actress Jennifer.
Listen, at this point in time, how I feel about this situation, I feel like it's a possibility that this actually might be something intelligent. And again, I could be 100% wrong. This won't be the first time that any of us has been wrong. But I do also feel like we have to have open mind for these situations, because it's a possibility that one time you might be right. Just one time you might be right. And that's all it takes, is just one time to be right in a situation like this in order to make the biggest difference in planet Earth or in human history. All it takes is one time. With that being said, man, it's your boy Nip. If nobody cares, please leave your comments, like, subscribe to the channel. Let me know if there's anything else you want me to take a look at. Again, I'm just a channel. I look at stuff that really nobody cares about. And you can come and you can join me. You can send me some stuff to take a look at. I got a plethora of things that I want to jump into, that I want to get into, that most people aren't really into. I'm not saying that this channel is solely for the eclectic type of people who like certain things that most people don't, because I'll jump from this into hip hop, into, a bunch of other stuff. So whatever I feel like talking about, I will. I'm just giving y'all a piece of me and my mind and who I am and my thought process. But with that being said, thank you for tuning in. You guys have a good one. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you.